High in the mist-veiled Himalayan ranges, where the wind whispers through sacred peaks and rivers etch timeless paths into the stone, the people of remote Tibetan villages have practiced some of the world's most unique and spiritually infused burial customs. Among them is a little-known yet profoundly symbolic tradition, the Tibetan water burial. Often overshadowed by the more widely recognized sky burial, this intimate and elemental ritual remains rooted in the same deeply spiritual Buddhist philosophy, one that views the body not as a possession to preserve, but as an offering to the living world. Tibetan water burial is not a fallback or a lesser alternative, rather, it is a harmonious adaptation to the realities of the landscape. In areas where jagged cliffs make sky burials dangerous, or where the population of carrion birds, particularly the sacred Himalayan griffon vultures, has dwindled, families turn to rivers, which are equally revered as sacred pathways connecting the material world to higher realms. These waterways are not merely physical features of the land, they are living deities in Tibetan cosmology, embodiments of compassion and movement, purification and rebirth. When a person dies, especially in rural Tibetan communities, death is not considered a tragic end but a deeply meaningful transition. According to Tibetan Buddhism, the body is impermanent and lacks a self-existent identity. It is seen as a temporary container, like a traveler's tent, useful in life but not bound to the essence of the person. The focus is on the subtle consciousness, or namsh, which, at the moment of death, begins a mysterious and delicate passage through the bardo, the intermediate state between life and rebirth. In the days immediately following death, lamas or monks are often invited to chant sacred texts, such as the Bardo Thodol, known in the West as the Tibetan Book of the Dead, to guide the departing soul and assist its journey. These prayers are not only for the dead, but also for the living, providing comfort and spiritual clarity in a time of loss. Family members participate in purification rituals, burning incense, lighting butter lamps, and preparing the body with ceremonial respect. When the decision is made for a water burial, the process is carried out with careful reverence. In some areas, particularly in higher altitude valleys or during harsh winters, the body may be kept wrapped in cloth for several days until the ritual can be safely performed. The designated ritual practitioner, often a Rojayapa, a body handler trained in death rites, approaches the task with humility and spiritual awareness. The body is often dismembered with precision, an act not seen as brutal but as generous, even compassionate. This act ensures that the remains can be returned to the river in a way that promotes decomposition, and it allows aquatic life to feed, just as vultures would in a sky burial. The rivers used for this rite are typically those that remain untouched by industrial pollution, still flowing with glacial clarity from sacred mountain springs. These waters are considered to be embodiments of Dakini energy, female spiritual forces associated with wisdom, motion, and transformation. When the remains are placed into the water, the act symbolizes the return of the body to the flow of the earth's life force. The water carries the body away, sometimes in small fragments, sometimes whole, slowly merging flesh with current, bone with stone, soul with sky. The ritual is often accompanied by mantras, such as Om Mani Padme Hum, the invocation of Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva of compassion. As the chants echo across the riverbanks, the sound joins the wind, the splash of water, the flight of birds, a symphony of impermanence and release. The moment is rarely one of spectacle. There is no audience, no dramatic displays of mourning. Grief is internalized, wrapped in prayer, and channeled into mindfulness. Death is not hidden behind walls or polished in funeral homes, it is experienced face to face, as raw and real as the mountain wind. One of the most poignant aspects of Tibetan water burial is its humble ecological wisdom. There is no waste, no toxic chemicals, no elaborate casket or stone marker. The body becomes part of the food chain, part of the river's journey from the Himalayas to the lowland plains. Fish nibble at the flesh. The bones, carried by the current, may come to rest downstream, mingling with silt and mineral, becoming earth once again. It is a full circle return that echoes the Buddhist concept of samsara, the cyclical nature of existence, birth, death, and rebirth flowing into one another like water through mountain gorges. Stories told in Tibetan oral tradition often speak of great sages or yogis who requested water burial as a final offering. In one such tale, a wandering lama known for his ascetic wisdom chose to die beside a sacred river, his final wish being that his body nourished the creatures of the deep. His followers carried out his request, believing that his spirit would travel through the river to distant lands, helping other beings across the veil of suffering. Even today, water burial is not just about tradition, it is an act of devotion. In a rapidly changing world, where roads, cell towers, and modern sensibilities creep even into Himalayan isolation, families who preserve this ritual do so with a fierce sense of identity. It is their bridge between the ancient and the eternal, a refusal to surrender spiritual depth to the flattening force of globalization. Yet challenges loom. Environmental degradation threatens the purity of rivers once considered untouchable. Some younger Tibetans, educated in cities and distanced from ancestral customs, question the relevance of such rites. Still, for many, the water burial continues, quiet, mystical, and timeless, as a sacred promise that the river always remembers, always flows, and always carries us home. In the end, Tibetan water burial is a mirror held up to life itself. We are temporary, we are fluid, and we belong to something far greater than ourselves. We are not lost when we die, we are given back. To the mountains, to the water, to the earth.